You're listening to From a Certain Point Askew, the only Star Wars podcast capable of transferring their contagion onto its listeners. I'm Jason, the Angry Ginger Jedi Guy, also known as the living embodiment of the Purgle Graveyard. I will be broadcasting live from inside the Wookiee Poo studios that I'm in, but I'm alone except for the Skype lines where our all-powerful Darth Mathias has greeted us, and you're going to hear a lot more of him today than me.
I'll be carrying the show today. Looking
Yes.
at Jay right now, he's got his fluids, he's got his Kleenex box, everything ready to go.
I came to die.
I want to jump right into it since you're not feeling well. But since if you're looking for our show from a certain point askew.com, find us on Twitter at FACPApod and email us facpapod@gmail.com. There is a giveaway we're doing as a reminder for that. Answer our question of the week, send us Maul Bag entries, send us voicemails, write reviews. All those things earn you entries. If you want to write a story from a certain point askew book that we're working on, do that as well. So all those things earn entries, and you're not going to believe this, Jay, but you know what I haven't done yet?
You've not tallied any of the entries yet.
Correct.
Okay.
So I got some work to do this week.
You do, because we've got one episode to go. But we'll do the tallying and the issuing out of the reward episode after, right? So we've got 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes. So you'll have this week and next week after the finale, and then the episode after the finale is when we'll do our giveaways. Again, the giveaways are some Black Series characters from Ahsoka, an Ahsoka mug, and then the book. So if you want to earn or win any of those prizes or just interact with the show, we love it. So appreciate you doing that, and that's how we try to reward you.
Yeah, and if you do get some of my contagion, if you're an anti-vaxxer, we're sorry, but we are sending out inoculations next week.
I'm sorry. I'm getting absolutely hammered by the sun right now.
You just got it's like the Star Killer base just destroyed a planet in front of your face.
Yeah, it kind of looks like
you are nothing but white on the screen. I can't. Damn.
A lot of adversity today.
Do you not have blinds? Can you close some shades? Holy shit.
We used to have curtains on this, but the things broke off and we haven't repaired them yet.
Okay.
And this is like the extra room downstairs that nobody cares that much about, so it gets neglected.
Just slide the monitor over.
I'll fight through it.
Okay.
Oh God.
We're both fighting through it today, I guess.
What's on the show?
On the show, we've got a question of the week, Ezra's endeavors in exile. On the news, we've got 2 things, Guillermo del Toro and Star Wars. This was a big one. Writer's strike over. If you just put that, otherwise, yes. Ahsoka Episode 7, Dreams and Madness we'll be discussing, and then we're going to go into, we've got 2 emails in the ball bag, and you know what, the Maul Bag. I'm not quite sure which word I said, but we've got 2 emails in the Maul Bag, and we'll cover those because there were the minimum limit of 2. Congratulations, listeners.
Right.
I love you.
They hit the minimum. Well, to be fair, we were recording a little bit earlier than normal, so it didn't give people as much time to get their stuff in if they haven't seen the show yet, but that's okay. If you have stuff, keep sending them in, and we'll cover them next week.
Yeah, of course.
Question of the week. Ezra had a lot of time on Peridea to himself. How did he pass the time? Jedi training? Well, learning a new language? Working out? A lot of responses. Love them. So Josh Tufts says, you think that luxurious hair just comes naturally? Ez has been at the salon the whole damn time. He just couldn't hear the calls because of that thing. And he's pointing. There was a GIF he shared. Somebody in the perm drying machine.
There's a prequel series coming. It's just going to be like a 4 or 5 episode series about where Ezra was and what happened. And it's basically just a remake of Don't Mess with the Zohan.
Yeah, there you go. Because this fantastic, whatever stylist.
That's why he uses the Force and a hairdryer.
Is he laying all those people though? All the customers? Is he hammering them all?
That's right. I've never seen the movie. I just remember the trailer.
He fucks every one of them.
It's like, yeah, he's like, cause isn't his like bulge always hanging out of his shorts and his.
Next is the Max Rebo experience. According to what I've read, his mail shirt is made out of stormtrooper dog tags. If that's true, then he's been spending his time pretending he's Chopper. I imagine the bandits call him the Butcher of Peridea. So the picture is there. You see that little chainmail thing he's got on. If that was actually stormtrooper dog tags, holy shit, that's a lot.
Yeah, it's got to be something, right? I mean, if that's someone caught that, I didn't know stormtroopers had dog tags though.
I didn't either, but they might just be under their armor.
Mm-hmm. Trying to think if we do we see anything like in the Clone Wars, like when they were in their locker rooms, with the old man mopping before he died?
It's a good question. I don't remember seeing that, but it doesn't mean it didn't exist. I was thinking about that. Clone Wars would be the time to see it, because if those guys are, in their barracks or whatever, we would have seen them at some point.
I like this idea.
Yeah, it's a fun idea. And if that's the case, because he's basically like a Killmonger thing rocking here. Like, he's got so many kills all over his body.
And you know what? The Butcher of Peridea is what a fucking name. That's it. And that now he's like the boogeyman, because he's going to hop on a ship and be gone. And there's just going to be a legend of him the end of time.
Right. So then next up is Dork Wars, the podcast. Looks like he was scrapping metal to make his chainmail. There you go. Brian Hour says, obviously Space Moses was out meditating and increasing his chakras in preparation for Sabine to save him and introduce him to Shin Hati for a thruple. A thruple.
Good old Bauer Fett's gotten it seems like his messages are getting hornier and hornier.
Mike Laybourne, drugs, so many drugs. He's wired off his tits. King of the Victorian turtle crab street urchins. He's hallucinating the whole little gang. Look at his eyes, for fuck's sake.
He gave up the lightsaber for a flute, or the Pied Piper.
Yeah.
His little hermit crabs following him everywhere.
That might be my favorite response. He's on some peyote or some shit. He's fucked up. Nude Gunray says he grifted the Noti hard. He has lived like a god because he convinced them that he is one. Oh.
He made like a turtle soup in one of their shells, like just in front of all of them. They made him watch the cooking, everything. He just slurped.
Never broke eye contact.
Yeah,
just
they'll never fucking mess with them again.
Vader Rapina says he learned how to become a CPA. Wow. You got time.
There's plenty of time out there, but I don't think they need a CPA out there in the wild environment.
I don't think they do, but maybe he was thinking about his second career, like his second, life.
Right.
After the Jedi thing. He was like, I got to find a skill.
Like when a prisoner goes to jail and gets their GED.
Right, exactly.
And then starts learning TV repair or some shit for when they get out.
Comes out ready to rock.
Mm-hmm.
JD Fish from the Blue Milk Cafe podcast said, well, so first he said something about like, I don't think it's safe to say, like, almost like a not safe for work kind of thing. And I was like, dude, our show? Go ahead and tell us what you're thinking. And then he elaborated, well, let's just say he had some hollow pictures of Sabine to keep him company. Oh, he's just been jerking it like a monster.
Yeah. That's why his hair is so good.
That's a lesson for you folks out there. The more you jerk it, the better your hair looks.
Yep.
Monica Del Val says exploring Peridea and doing amateur archaeology. I like the people that really are like, I think he used his time wisely. I think he really he didn't have any books. Buzzwang's Folly says, okay, I'm going to struggle with these pronunciations. Learned Chun, which I believe is the cheese language, the language of Thrawn, solely to dunk on Thrawn during weekly transmissions with the Ascendancy. And finally, Brown Leader from Hyperspace Hero says, to help recover from his shoulder wound, he started drinking. Oh, that's right, because he gets shot in the shoulder by Thrawn. I forgot about that. Right right before he makes the jump, Thrawn shoots him in the shoulder. To help recover from his shoulder wound, he started drinking Peridea's #1 energy drink, Noti, N-O-T-I, nitric oxide testosterone infused. Ooh.
Yes.
He drank so many that he made a sweater from the can pull tabs and realized he needed to help with his addiction. So with the help of some hermit crab people, he was able to wean himself off and put all his focus into sewing. He created a whole new wardrobe for the hermit crab people as a thank you. Oh, that's a good story. See, Brown Leader made a reference to your question or your comment, your tweet about the book, about the From a Certain Point of Skew thing. They're working on some stories.
Really?
Yeah.
I've had ideas for 3 or 4, and then you triggered another one for me.
Oh, good.
So we'll see where I get, but I'm like in the middle of one right now. I've got it all fleshed out, and now I'm trying to write it.
I wish I was a better writer. I need to put some time into that. I did like how Ro was like, I couldn't get into those stories, and you're like, I wanted to say to Ro, I'm like, well, who cares? Write a fucking story. Let's see it. Do your own.
That's the thing is my first idea, I hadn't read any of them. And I was like, well, let me buy the book and see what they're doing. And the book is pretty good. The ones that I've read so far. But it makes me almost, I was writing more before I read the stories. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, oh, I got to amp my game up a little bit. There's some fucking good authors out there writing some good Star Wars shit.
Well, it's such a mix.
Obviously.
I mean, you've seen who the authors are, right? I mean, some of them are people who are doing like High Republic stuff. Like what's his face? Oh God, I'm forgetting his name.
Charles Soule.
Charles Soule. But I was also thinking of the guy who was in Stand By Me, and then he was on Star Trek Next Generation.
Will Wheaton.
Yes, like he writes one. It's quite a mix of people that write them, and so some of them are kind of silly. I mean, there's one that's like literally like almost looks like a page of a graphic novel or something, and that's it. But then there's some that are just pretty heavy and deep and get into it, and I find them entertaining.
I was surprised because I thought the stories just kind of did their own thing. Like each one of them was like they just told the story that kind of was this is happening over on the side of while something's happening.
Yeah.
But as you read the stories, you're basically reading A New Hope, but everything is from a certain point of view, right? Like, it just keeps progressing. So you're seeing the story of the Death Star and the plans and all this, but it's through someone else's eyes, and then it goes to the next thing where Vader's, in the hallway looking for the fucking plans, and then there's this stormtrooper that it's his whole story about Leia, and then he ends up fucking like taking off. He's like, I'm out of here. I don't want to hurt her.
Yeah. Well, I just love. I love the approach and, like you said, the chronology of it, that it goes through it, so you know exactly what points of the movie this came in. It's like we have not finished the whole Empire book yet. I think we read like maybe half of it, but there is a lot of stories about what's going on Hoth and all the different people involved there.
Oh, cool!
It's really interesting.
Cool.
Yeah, so that's cool. So that's it for Question of the Week answers. Thank you everybody for sending those in. You get entries, really appreciate it, and now we can move on to the news. Okay, so there was a recent interview that the screenwriter David Goyer did where he said, quote, I wrote an unproduced Star Wars movie that Guillermo del Toro was going to direct, which everybody's like, holy shit. That was about 4 years ago. And then I also have a scriptment. That is a script and a treatment. It's a combination of some sort. For an Origins of the Jedi movie, also for Star Wars, that took place 25,000 years before the first Star Wars film. So James Mangold didn't pitch that idea himself? He took your idea? Or what's going on there?
Well, I think this is one of those, Lucasfilm has all these ideas running around. They're like, who wants to make this? It's sort of the same with when they brought Josh Trank in to do Boba Fett, and then they fired him after the shitty Fantastic Four movie. And then a couple years later, they brought in James Mangold, who, whether you want to read, some of them was like he was working on the script, others were he never got there, and now what are we, a couple years later, and now Mangold's, instead of doing that, he's going to the 25,000 years before. So
right,
I mean, I think the ideas are there, right, those kernels, and then they just keep trying to churn them out one way or another. So
maybe they have all these people come into a room, and it's almost like a game of, not charades, but something like that, where they're like, okay, reach into the hat, pick out an idea, okay, go.
Yeah, you don't need to pitch anything. You just need to pitch your idea of the idea that's on the tag in the hat.
Yeah, right. You have to do whatever they get.
But did you see Guillermo del Toro's response on Twitter
about
that?
He says, true, can't say much, maybe 2 letters, J and BB. Is that 3 be? Because he was rumored to be wanting to do like some sort of Godfather-style Jabba movie at some point, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think this goes back further than 4 years ago then, because,
you would think,
well, how long ago was Solo? Because maybe it was happening then, because Solo was the one that kind
15?
No,
later?
No, it was 18. It was 18 because
you're
it was the same year as the last movie came out, right? May and then
Force
December.
Awakens was 15.
Right.
You're right. And then Rogue One. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but they were going to do all those Star Wars story movies. They were going to do a Vader, and there was a Yoda that was in the talks. I had heard about a Jabba, which was like, but seeing some of the Book of Boba Fett stuff, and I think the Criminal Underworld stuff could be kind of fun.
Oh, it could be fun, but that's the thing. Like the Book of Boba Fett thing was the Godfather style show. It just was that instead of Jabba. But I could see them doing that. I don't know. Could you imagine them bringing? I mean, I guess we saw it to a degree in Book of Boba as far as them showing us, Jabba creatures, huts. And so I was trying to think, what would it look like to bring Jabba back? Would they literally go back to practical and show that big, huge, monster? I think you would have to if you did that.
What were they, the 2 fat cousins?
That's right. So then the writer's strike. It's over. 1 down.
Yeah, they signed 12:01 today. They could start working.
Is that what it was?
12:01 a.m. Yeah, Wednesday, 12:01 a.m. They were allowed to go back to work.
Up to the minute. We're up to the minute right now.
Yep.
So it sounds like they got a lot of what they want. Obviously, there were some concessions and stuff, but you probably know the details more than me. I know they got like the whole streaming thing. The numbers are going to have to be shared now, so they get some proper residuals.
Yep.
There was talk about AI, like AI has limitations where it can't write and rewrite things or something like that. I can't remember what all that was.
They won out big time.
Did they? Okay. Good.
Everything they wanted. Some of it looked like they got more than they were asking for.
Well, they had that minimum staff writer thing, which I think they only got a smaller number than they wanted, but still they got some.
Well, that's the thing is some writers were on the fence with that. That was sort of a back and forth, but the big part of it was when you're trying to create a writer's room and they weren't allowing it. So now they've got a minimum of 3, including like the showrunner, and then if they staff up, and it's all dependent on was it 10 or more episodes, then you can increase the number of writers that are in the room.
Okay.
And then the amount of time that they spend on, and it looks like the longer they're there for weeks, the income drops a little bit. But still, looks like it was like $14,000 a week for the showrunner.
Well, and I imagine that was, like you said, there was some not confusion, but some discussion around that with the writers, because I'm sure some writers are like, actually, I want to just write the whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
I don't want a room that I have to work with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the room really is, some writers will use the room just to flesh everything out, throw brainstorm, just ideas at the wall and stuff. But I mean, sometimes it pays off when you've got, there's TV shows where you can really see a different writer's voice in that script, that episode,
Mm-hmm. For sure. So what does this mean for Star Wars?
I think that, well, it doesn't mean anything because they've got Mandalorian written. Now they have to finish the actors. The actors are still on strike.
Correct. What it does allow is that for Mando, it has been written and they were doing pre-production stuff. I think they were going to start filming next month, October.
Yeah.
So that's going to obviously push out, but yeah, you got to get the actor thing sorted or you're going nowhere. So I don't know. At this point, you'd probably assume they won't be starting shooting Mando until probably the beginning of next year, even if they get this thing sorted in the next month or so. And then Andor, they were shooting that without Gilroy. So hopefully he can come back and kind of clean up any mess that was made from that.
Yeah, no shit.
That makes me so nervous. But I mean, they were kind of in the home stretch anyway. I think they said they had like a month or two left of shooting. So that can come together pretty quickly. I'm guessing maybe that starts up later this year if they get the actor thing sorted. I don't know. We'll see. But all this stuff pushes all these projects out. I mean, Ahsoka, you're assuming, is going for a season 2. And, so now Filoni can kind of write that in earnest. I'm guessing he's already got a pretty good idea of what he wants to do. And what we'll get into in a second here with Ahsoka is this whole first season is absolutely setting up for a second season. They're not going to wrap up enough shit. So
no, there's nothing that's going to be wrapped up except for likely Thrawn will be back in the universe we're used to.
Right. And then like the Acolyte, that was basically done. Although they, if there's any sort of reshoots or anything post-prod they need to do, that would allow them to do that. So that's good. And then there's all the movies. Stephen Knight can go back to finishing that script for the Jedi Order project.
Shit. Kennedy had him locked back in his hotel room at 12:02.
We've set up the room for you.
Yup.
It is internally facing. It does not face outside. Yeah, so I'm just hoping, and then of course the Glovers working on Lando, et cetera, Taika.
Yep.
So all that stuff can kind of move again, which is good. So at least it's going to move. It obviously pushed everything back, and now we got to worry about the actor. Have you seen any progress on the actor stuff lately?
No, it was all about, I think, getting the writers going. So I think there'll be talks with the writer or the actors probably by next week.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's over in the next week or two.
Okay, good. That would be good. Yeah. I guess the studios had to kind of go, let's get the writers sorted first, then we can move on.
Yep.
That was it for news. So it's time to talk dreams and madness. What were kind of your overall thoughts of this episode? You liked it.
I did. I liked it a lot. It's starting to come together where like you're getting all the elements of Star Wars.
Yeah.
You got stormtroopers running around. You got lightsaber fights. You've got space battles. This episode had a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it left me wondering how exactly they're going to wrap up the season because there's still a lot that kind of is out there and open. But we did get a lot of, old familiar characters that we wanted to see again. You got your gal, Mon, in the flesh.
Yeah. And my girlfriend was sitting next to me, and I had to, had to calm the heart down because I didn't want her catching on.
Put the wig on.
Yeah. She already had it on. She's like, wait a minute.
Stop calling me Mon. We got a particular droid back in the fray. That was kind of fun.
I called it, and I'm not like, this was in my script. We're watching the TV show, and as the guy's bitching and shit, and I'm fucking getting mad at Kaz's dad. I'm like, fuck you, you're an asshole.
Oh.
I go, you know what's going to happen? Leia's going to walk in here and just drop her dick down. Like, she's had enough of this. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you hear C-3PO's voice or whatever, and Kyle looks at me, and she's like, what the hell? Like, I go, see, I kind of was right.
Yeah, well, let's get into that. So we open on Coruscant, or Coruscant, as you like to call it, and Hera's basically facing a court-martial. And this fucking bellend. I cannot stand Senator Xiono, and it's one of those things where I thought, is the home life affecting him? Is the fact that he's got this little shit running around who's going to turn into Kaz, like driving him so nuts that he's bringing his anger onto his job?
He's just going to break down in court one day. He's like, my fucking son. You wouldn't believe it. And they're like, oh, this makes a lot of sense.
I told my wife we shouldn't have kept the baby.
Yeah.
Or I was thinking, like, is there something else going on here? Because he certainly seems to have it out for Hera. And it made me think, like, did they date before? And like maybe she ghosted him?
No shit.
Literally in the ghost?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Double meaning there. What about maybe he's part of the Imperial remnant? Like maybe he's getting kickbacks.
But then he ends up being, I mean, he's working for them the whole time. I guess he was an inside
politics,
agent. Yeah,
right?
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess he's supposed to be the embodiment of
old school
shitty politicians and the whole reason why the New Republic ends up totally sucking.
He's like, I am
boy.
willing to sit and talk to any lobbyist.
Right, exactly. So he asks Hera, you know, what you're doing. You think what you're doing is your actions are protecting the New Republic? And she's like, no, by ignoring your direct orders, I'm helping the New Republic. Oh, fuck, you can hear a pin drop. Everybody's just like, whoa. Get him a body bag.
She grinned. She's like, ooh, you got him there.
So he just continues to shoot her down left and right. First, he's crapping on her report as being like this fantastical events. And then he's denying that there's any coordinated Imperial remnants. Now, did he watch the news when they reported on the Baylan and Shin going in and destroying a fucking New Republic ship and stealing a prisoner? Did he miss that news clip?
That's true. Yeah, it must not have hit his desk.
Yeah. Well, we talk about how like sometimes people get, you know, based on like who they follow on Twitter and stuff, they get a little siloed. Maybe he just wasn't. He's on some different feeds.
His echo chamber had nothing to do with that.
Right. Exactly. And then this is when we get a comment from Captain Tiva, who's talking about Mandalore. So that kind of gives us an idea of, okay, we are post season 3 of Mando at this point because the events of Mandalore have already happened with Gideon. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you notice in the Ahsoka there was a little bit of the Mandalorian, like you could hear a little bit of it.
When? Like when?
When they dropped the fucking Ahsoka on the screen.
Oh, I didn't notice that. I'll have to go back.
You could hear a little bit of and I was like, ooh, we're going to get a little Mandalorian thing in this. And also, I want to bring this up before I forget it. But so back in the episode where Baylan and Ahsoka, I think it's when Baylan and Ahsoka are fighting. And before he like smashes her off the cliff, you hear Vader's breathing in between the beats.
Oh.
And then there was another one. I went back and tried finding it today because I'm so brain dead. I remembered I heard it last night when watching it, but I didn't hear it today. But there's a spot in the episode. I've noticed it a couple times where you'll hear like Vader's breathing during the beats. I'm like trying to figure out what that means.
Well, they certainly like to mix that shit in, whether it is with the music, Kiner's music and stuff. I mean, you almost have to, it's almost like you catch that stuff, or at least for me, on like second or third watch.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're just watching the action and trying to, you know, understand the plot the first time through. Mm-hmm. Then you're looking for the little bits. But it's that I hear people bring up stuff like that all the time. They're like, oh, did you catch this one moment where this happened? And I'm like, fuck, I didn't see that at all. Mm-hmm. It's like it's like even visually, it's like when those people saw the silhouetted or whatever picture that Hera had in the ghost of Kanan. I was like, what? Yeah. Who spotted that?
Or like I see you've got a picture of something on our notes here. You're going to bring that up.
Yeah, we'll go over that.
That's a hell of a pull too. But
that's a crazy pull.
Like when 3PO first comes on screen, you hear the down, 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 down. You hear the music.
Yes, I did hear. I noticed that. And so, yeah, because obviously they love to play any sort of themes that revolve with certain characters. Mm-hmm. So I get those beats, but like you said, when they're just like dropping a fucking Vader breath in the middle of nothing, it's kind of like, oh, that's weird. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, Xiono's calling her out. He's like, I'm calling for an official court martial of Hera, blah, blah, blah. And that's when 3PO comes in and he's got this message from Leia. Now, did you, first when he said he has this message from Leia, did you think, are we going to get a fucking holo? Is that a way to handle like the whatever, the CGI version of her is by doing it on a holo so it can be more rough?
I think I wouldn't be surprised, especially, you know, we got a holo in a minute. So
yeah,
I don't think they're afraid of doing that. So I think they handled it right this way though. With 3PO and not going a little too far.
Right.
I wouldn't have been upset with it, but you got just the right amount of like, you know, Leia swinging her power still.
I think referring to her and having her agents essentially be there is enough. I think you want to really be cautious about how much you use that. And maybe you save it for later, like when they do the movie or something like that.
The movie, right.
Xiono objects to 3PO, who reveals that that Leia sanctioned Hera's mission and she wasn't even allowed to vote on the matter thanks to Xiono. So now you're getting a little bit of an idea why he was so wanting to shut it down so quickly. Because I love the fact that he's like, I have some data, C-3PO, and he's like, I object. I'm like, on what grounds? What the fuck are you? Why are you object to everything?
Why is no one else being like, dude, you need to calm the fuck down?
Yeah, they're letting him
the
get
other
away with
two
it.
board members on the other side, Mon Mothma, aren't even saying a word.
No.
And she's just kind of like letting him vent. And she's almost playing like the long game with him, right? She knows she's going to catch him up, and I think this is where she gets him. But,
right.
I mean, he's just so loud and boisterous for like, what's he all worked up about?
I don't know. There's something going on there below the surface. And it's interesting because I don't think you would see him make such a stink about it just for the sake of saying, see, politicians are shitty sometimes. I think there's something else going on here.
Right.
He responds to this by basically calling bullshit. He's a mere droid. Oh, fuck. Chopper has to basically be held back by Tiva or he's going to go kill the man.
Yeah, he almost like saw red and just wiped out the whole room. He was close.
Who the fuck you calling a droid? A mere droid, asshole.
Carson had to like turn around and push the safe button on him. Calm down.
Right. But because of this information that's shared, Mon Mothma dismisses the case, much to his chagrin. He's like, okay. And then Mon goes over and talks to Hera. She's like, look, I know that's a bunch of bullshit. Like, I know that she didn't sanction this. So what's going on? She's like, well, I like how Hera's like, well, she did eventually.
Yeah.
But after the fact. But then she's like, kind of like, give me a no BS assessment here. Like, how serious is this Thrawn threat? And Hera's like, well, prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Yeah.
By the way, shout out to our friend, the Ithorian historian. There was an Ithorian senator in the room.
I didn't catch it until right after I finished the episode. I went on Twitter. That was the first thing that popped up. And I was, you eagle-eyed fuck.
Oh,
like,
he is constantly looking.
Yes.
Because I can't remember if it was Mando when he saw one. No, because there was that street vendor. That was pretty obvious. But sometimes there'll be one like off in the distance and in like walking down the street. And he's like, got it. Screenshot.
Was it Book of Boba Fett? There was one up against a wall or something.
There might have been there.
In a room. But caught one, yeah.
The Book of Boba Fett one was better, though, because it was that Mok Shai's guy, and he fucking got strung up.
The one that got hung? He got his big old feet wiggling.
So, meanwhile, Ahsoka is using her spare time en route to Cetos, or Cetos, whatever you want to call it. Everybody calls it something different. To polish up her saber skulls, because you got to keep training. You got to stay frosty.
That's right.
All with the help of some nice training videos from our friend Anakin, who was nice enough to make some of those for her back in the Clone Wars. And it's...
What'd she say? She said he must have recorded 20 more of these?
Yeah, she said he recorded about 20, and this is the last one.
That was the last one she watched, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we get some fun name drops in there. He's talking about, you're not just going to fight droids in this battle. You're going to fight like Ventress. Drops the Ventress bomb on there. Grievous.
Dooku.
And Dooku.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was cool. I mean, I thought it was a cool sequence just to show him one more time in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And you also get her saying like he was a good master. She still obviously has this big tie to him.
Right.
They drop out of hyperspace and ride into a minefield.
Fuck, man. Surprise.
And the shitty thing about these mines is they activate and then they're like drawn to the object.
Yes.
So they're like blowing up, trying to blow up the whales, trying to blow up their ship. It was funny when this happened, the consultant was sitting next to me and he goes, oh, those were in Star Wars Squadrons, the video game. And I was like, oh, because I had never seen that before.
Right.
When you see that first shot, they are lined in every direction going off that planet. Like there is no way to get past them except for going right through them.
I'm like, what's the budget on these things?
Well, right. And whose job was that?
A lot of them. Yeah.
You got to go lay them. Well, we're only like fucking 4% done. Like, well, keep going. I hope they come in this angle. Then she's like, okay, well, we got to fly through this shit and basically get to, they see the Eye of Sion and then they duck down because they start getting attacked by these ships into the ring of whale carcasses.
Yep.
And then down on the planet, Thrawn is made aware of Ahsoka's arrival, and while combing through her intel, he realizes that her master was Anakin. How did he not know this? This man is so well versed.
Yeah, and you think that he would have studied on Ahsoka already?
Yeah, I would have thought
because he was aware of her in Rebels, right?
Yeah.
Well, I guess she was off fighting. What was it, Maul? I was confused that last season of Clone Wars with Rebels. Yeah.
Right.
So what was she doing in Rebels at the end?
Rebels, she leaves them at some point, right? Like she actually is only in Rebels for a while, so maybe that's why she was still kind of operating under that fulcrum deal and kind of being secretive and spy-ish. But I have not read all the Thrawn books, but apparently Thrawn meets Anakin and then later Vader, like maybe he does like a mission with him or something, and so he's definitely familiar with him and who he becomes. So you can tell he's kind of like got a half chub when he realizes that she is that's her master. He's like, ooh, I know that dude.
Well, I also think like there was a little bit of fear. Like he was like, oh, this is probably not one to fuck with.
Well, what does he say? That she's like her master. She's going to be unpredictable.
Yes.
I think he likes the challenge though. Thrawn tells Enoch to withdraw the fighters in pursuit of Ahsoka, and he mentions kind of like how they're going to basically guide her in a direction so they can kind of control the situation. Like we're gonna
but let her think it's her choice.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, brilliant strategy.
And then Ahsoka and Huyang kind of hole up in this quiet spot of in the whale debris field, and then he calls on the Great Mothers to locate Ahsoka, and they literally use their balls to triangulate her. They go back to Sabine and Ezra, and they're riding along in their covered wagons. With the Noti as they migrate to the next campsite, and she's filling him in on everything that's happened, which has got to be pretty mind blowing for him. He's like, whoa. So the Empire lost. And she's like, yep, Battle of Endor. He's like, okay, and the Emperor is dead. She's like, that's what people say. I like that.
Yes, that was a good line.
And he's like, Hera's commanding the fleet, and Zeb's training recruits. Hey, at least Zeb got a mention. I mean, that was his homie. Yeah. Zeb was his best friend.
I really thought we'd see him today. I thought we'd see him in this episode. I mean, to me, I feel like they're holding back because that's probably a pretty expensive character, but we got to see him next week then, right?
If we don't, it's maybe they're keeping it for season 2, but I really hope they have a nice reunion when they see each other. Cause I mean, they were like brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Then Sabine tells Ezra how Ahsoka took her on as her apprentice. And he's like, really? Why? Oh, I mean, no, that makes sense. And when he asks about Ahsoka and how she found him, she's just like, it's complicated. She doesn't want to answer. She's still afraid to tell him.
She's keeping him in the dark on shit.
She is. And as they continue on, Sabine hears Ahsoka reaching out to her through the Force. And then Ahsoka even says at one point, I see her. So that's that kind of that some of what we got maybe a little bit more in the sequel trilogy, where like we can kind of see where that person is with that connection.
Oh, right. Do you think, I don't think that Sabine heard her. I think she just felt something.
Got a feeling.
She said it was familiar, but she really couldn't put a pin on it, right? Like, so I think like she's not strong enough to understand what it is yet, but they're definitely showing you she's linked.
Yeah, she's got some sensitivity to it for sure.
Yeah.
Well, and of course, while she's doing this, little does Ahsoka know that her call is being traced by the Night Mothers.
Mm-hmm.
She's right there. Now, I don't want to shit on Thrawn's plan here because he is a master tactician, but if your whole eventual goal is to just time waste for them so you can get your shit done, why smoke her out then? Why not just let her sit there?
I think he's worried she's going to come straight to him.
Okay.
Right? Instead of maybe Sabine, or not know where they're like, without her doing that, like where's Sabine, she would have just come down like, oh, there's a fucking big ass Star Cruiser. Let's start there.
That could be. I just thought it was odd.
I think his was to push her towards Sabine.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, he does say that he's pretty sure she's going to go after Sabine anyway, but maybe he's just trying to, whatever. What's the thing? Hedge your bets.
Yeah.
So Sabine and Ezra notice that Baylan and Shin are now observing their movements from the hillside.
Yeah.
First, they turn away and crank it up to 1.2 miles per hour in the other direction.
Yeah.
So fucking
full speed
slow.
ahead.
These pods are worthless. I mean, I guess they provide good cover, but that's about it. Right. They're slow as shit. But Baylan orders Shin to contact Thrawn and then kill Sabine and Ezra in order to, quote, take her position in the coming Empire. And then he says, your ambition drives you in one direction, my path lies in another. What the fuck is he doing?
I don't know. I love how cryptic he's being with things, but the only thing that's like by now is, all right, we need an answer. We got one episode left. And I think the urgency for me more is like, Jesus, what's going to happen to this guy?
Yeah.
At this point, I don't think the character dies.
I don't either.
Like, how are they going to do this? And I started thinking yesterday, well, maybe there's something that happens and he gets damaged. They throw a mask on another actor. Boom. You're good.
Yeah, because, I mean, he's such a cool character that they've created. I would think that they had plans for him in season 2. There's no way they were going to want to kill him off at the end of the season. I don't think.
Yeah, because this is such a huge subplot that there's more going on. And it's not going to get wrapped up next episode.
Unless they want to put all their eggs in the Shin basket, and like we have talked about, she kills him for some reason, and that's some big shock moment of the season finale. But I don't think there's enough time to get to the point where Shin would want to do that.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know. Oh, he also says impatience for victory will guarantee defeat.
Yes.
Good note. That's like that's straight up quote at the beginning of a Clone Wars episode.
Oh.
Thrawn orders 2 gunships of troops to assist in the attack on Sabine and Ezra, and then Shin leads the bandits into attack. This is straight up Twin Towers or Two Towers, Lord of the Rings scene. This is exactly that scene. It's almost identical.
Yeah.
And the best the poor Noti can do is just like sling stones from a slingshot. Nice little shout out to Ezra's, beginnings.
Right.
But
Yep.
that's all they've got.
They're peaceful people. Well, that doesn't mean that. What does Shin say?
Something like they can't, or you mean Sabine? They can't defend themselves or something like that. She says something about it. Like basically they're not going to help at all.
Right.
I mean, and this is straight up like old Western on a stagecoach firing.
Yeah, this is like out on the prairie type thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. They even circle the wagons at one point.
They literally circle the wagons. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he orders them to do that to kind of form this circle. They all go hide inside their little pods, and Ezra and Sabine are going to fight the bandits. Now Sabine's like the whole time sitting there going, "Would you give him his fucking lightsaber, please?" And then she offers it. She's like, "Here, do your thing." And he's like, "Nope, don't need it." And I'm like, "What? Why are you not taking the saber?" I really wanted to see him with the saber.
Do you think like he's untrained? So he's like, no. I mean, he's good with the Force, apparently. I mean, we get to see that, but it was a little weird that he was like, no, you keep it. No, you keep it. No, you keep it.
I think it's a flex. I think he's like, I don't need that shit. I can do it all with the Force.
All right.
So that's what he's been working on. Not just getting his CPA and doing archaeological digs like our listener said. I think he's been working on the Force a lot because that's all he's had. He doesn't have a saber.
Yeah.
He hasn't had a saber in years.
So do you think that he'll be like a Jedi without a lightsaber? Like everything's peaceful?
I maybe does that mean does he have Force lightning? Are we going to see that at some point?
That's not peaceful.
I don't know. He's chucking people all over the place, so it's working out okay for him. But I was really wanting to see him get that saber out. Ahsoka comes screaming in on her ship because she's been attacked by those ships, and she does this little fucking slide tuck and roll move. Doesn't even get her robes dirty. Impressive.
Nope. Mm-hmm.
But who's there to greet her? It's Baylan Kenobi. What the fuck was that?
Kenobi.
You told me Baylan Kenobi to DM. What was that about? Did somebody make a post?
Yeah,
about
it was something I saw. Someone was saying that it's his. I don't know if it was.
The brother, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because Ewan, when he was playing him in the series, talked about I used to have a brother. I don't really remember him.
Right.
So,
which doesn't make any sense because Baylan tells the whole story of watching the temple burn. So I would think that Kenobi knew his brother was also.
You would think he would have known. Yeah. Right. So they battle, they fight Ahsoka and Baylan, and eventually she gets kind of the upper hand, and he says, you can't defeat me, and she says, I don't have to, and that's when Hu Yang comes in and starts dropping fucking flares or whatever they are, shoots at the ground, creates this magician smoke trick, and she scoots away, jumps on the rat-faced horse dog, and takes his ride and gets out of there.
Yep.
And now this is interesting because he kind of looks at that. It's almost like he's like a bunch of thoughts are going through his head because he's watching her ride off, and then he kind of looks over the other direction, and he kind of looks down, and he's like, and then he just walks off the other direction. Where the fuck is he going? What is Baylan going to do next?
Whatever's calling him is where he's going.
You think so?
Yeah, I think the only reason he fought Ahsoka was to hold her up.
That was my thought too. Was that he just wanted to hold her up so that she, Shin and them could still defeat Ezra and Sabine. But otherwise, from what he's doing and where his actions are leading, it almost seems like he doesn't really care about the outcome of all that because he's on he's got a bigger purpose.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's whatever. He's there now. He knows there's a calling. He's got a mission, and he sends Shin off to basically go be the next freaking Darth Maul or whatever she's going to be. And he's just, and none of them seem worried about how they're fucking going to get off this planet and back home.
No, none of them are worried about that. I worry about that later.
Mm-hmm. Baylan doesn't look like he cares if he goes back.
No, maybe he's just given up. He's like, this is where I will live from now on. I'll find a way.
I think there's a gateway.
Well, that's the thing. And we'll get into that in the what's next, because I want to talk about that whole theory. So Shin sneaks up on Ezra. This was the funniest part. She slices his fucking hair. That was so funny how it like singed, and he goes, close. So he seems to hold her off pretty well, just using the Force and some nice dodging. Eventually she chucks him right into one of those pods. But the night troopers land and move into position, and Thrawn and Elsbeth are kind of watching it all unfold on like an illuminated risk board.
Yes, exactly.
That was cool.
Yeah.
He notices, by the way, at that point, Thrawn, he's like, we've lost somebody. Where's Baylan? So he was not foreseeing this move.
No.
So he's probably like, what the fuck's that guy up to? That's got him a little concerned, because he likes to have everything planned down to the letter.
He thinks he sees it all, and this guy's doing his own thing.
Yeah, he's freewheeling. Wild card. So Shin orders the troops to shoot Sabine and Ezra.
Well, Ezra's like, hey, well, you guys want to take us as prisoners?
I like how he does that.
Let's just talk about this.
The way he throws it out and goes, as prisoners, and kind of throws his hand up like, that's like season 1 or 2 Ezra in the animation. That was very much in line with him. So yeah, so Ahsoka comes in, starts force chucking everybody around, kind of evens the playing field a little bit.
She doesn't even pull her lightsabers out at Shin. Shin starts swinging, and she just grabs her wrist and like, get out of here, you toddler.
Yeah, do you think she saw Ezra doing his thing, like, or felt it and was like, I could do that shit too. Don't get off like you're
you're not better than me.
User. So then Sabine and Ezra just start wiping out troops left and right, and finally, Thrawn's like, you know what? We're going to go ahead and order them to surrender. And Elsbeth is confused by this strategy. And he's like, well, it's kind of like a victory, because we distracted them long enough to get our cargo loaded, and we can get the fuck out of this place. He's literally like, I hate this place. I just want to leave.
If I have to shit in the outhouse one more time.
I've had enough. I need my creature comforts. And then he starts singing Time Is on Our Side by the Rolling Stones. No, he doesn't sing that, but he does say it. As the troopers retreat, Shin's like, where the fuck is everybody going? Like, I didn't get the retreat call here. Why is everybody leaving me? And that's when she kind of looks a bit shook and a bit dejected by this. Like, she's trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. And that's when Ahsoka is like, I can help you. Ooh, and she looked a little conflicted for a second there. Are we just trying to plant that seed? And it's just kind of this thing that's lingering, and it's not actually going to happen, or is Shin actually going to be tempted to join the other side at some point?
I don't see her. I don't know what the purpose is for her being good. Then you've got all of the Jedi, force wielders on one side other than the witches, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, I don't see her. If there's a redemption, it's not happening yet. She's got to go a little darker first.
Maybe it was just enough to show that she was tempted for a second.
Right.
So, because she had been essentially abandoned.
Mm-hmm. Which is going to work out really well for Thrawn when she goes back there, and he's going to take that and run with it.
Yeah, right. He'll take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
So then she fucks off, gets on her rat-faced horse dog, and gets out of there. And then we get this nice little reunion with Ahsoka and Ezra embracing, and Hu Yang pulls up, and Ezra remarks, that he's thinking it's time to go home after all. He feels like it's going to happen now. And Ahsoka and Sabine are like, I don't know if we can do that yet.
I like when she's like, I thought you were dead. You thought she was dead?
Right. Why'd you think she was
dead?
Wait
a minute. Yeah.
I'm so confused. So earlier when I asked about her, that's you're hiding? You just
right, yeah.
Oh man. So that's the end of the episode. A lot of stuff to get into here as far as what's next, but let's stop for a second and just talk about this wrist display that Baylan has that you alluded to earlier. So somebody somehow got a close-up version of this damn thing and translated the Orabesh. And allegedly the Orabesh shows that this thing is, I thought it was a grocery list, but it says Luke, Leia, Han, Chewie, R2-D2, C-3PO, Ben. What?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
At all.
Well, at least not right now it does. And also, like, I hope this is somebody, like, duping the whole Star Wars
It has to be. It
right?
has to
like
be. There's no way this means anything.
They zoom in and then created their own Photoshop screen and then wrote, like, this is what it says because...
Oh, I see what you're saying. I thought you meant it was the makers of the show were just doing it to throw people off. You're saying somebody created this image and was like, see, dummies? It could be. That very well could be. Because this doesn't make any sense why you would have a list with that on it. There's no reason for that.
Right. And what Ben? Are they talking about Ben Solo?
Right. Or Ben Kenobi.
Right.
And why? And he would have always referred to him as Obi-Wan anyway, because that's, he knew him as a Jedi.
And why have the droids' names? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, if he was, I don't know, it's very
strange.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. If it just had like Luke and Leia on it, but even still, literally on your wrist, it just has the names of the people like you're interested in doing something with. I don't know. I thought that was.
I mean,
bizarre.
at this point, they're all alive. So
yes, they are all alive. Correct. Well, Ben's not. No, Ben is. No, Ben's dead.
no, well,
Ben Kenobi's dead. Ben Solo
Right.
is alive. You're right. He's
it's
little.
just born.
He's
yeah.
he's like 5. There's a lot to wrap up, like I mentioned. I mean, I know that this is a lot of setup for season 2,
Mhm.
presumably, but also for the movie eventually. There's a lot of setup here. But like, how are they going to wrap it up? Are they gonna have like Thrawn make the jump, get back home? Are Ahsoka and the crew going to be like stranded at the end of this, or are they going to actually like come back just in time to see Thrawn's already fucking laying waste to the New Republic in some fashion? Like, I'm trying to figure out how you end this season in a way that is satisfying.
I don't know. To me, Thrawn shows up, big reveal. They find out, oh shit, he's back. I'm trying to. I don't think Baylan. We'll find out what he's up to, right? But I think he's still going to be there. But I think that temple has a gateway, like some way for him to get home. But I don't see Ahsoka and them using it. But I mean, they could very much just jump on the Purgles again if they're bouncing around, or they're going to go back. So there could be a couple different ways. I don't see them all like jumping on Thrawn's ship. I don't see them like, well, I'll bring you guys back to your galaxy.
Or sneaking aboard at stowaways.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, that could be, but.
Talk about the portal. Because you sent this to me. There was an image and it showed basically where the front of that base that they're on
Is
on
a
Satos
triangle.
Is a triangle.
And it's almost exactly what it looks like in the World Between Worlds episode.
No,
when
Malachor.
Yeah, right. Sorry. When Ahsoka says, "I'll find you," after she's been saved, right?
No, I thought it was the scene they showed in the end of the Malachor episode where you think she might have died, and Darth Vader strolls out, like stumbles out, all kind of half beat up, and you just see that little image of her. It looks like her walking through it
in through the doorway.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, and that looks very reminiscent of what this tower is. So, who knows?
Well, and then you've got the Orabesh on that, making references to the Zepho, which is a whole thing that's in part of the Jedi Order games. So, I mean, I guess I could see them trying to tie that in. I don't know all the history of the Zepho. I forget because I probably raced through that game too fast. I wasn't watching all the cutscenes.
Are the Zepho the aliens, like the warriors that use the Force?
Yeah, they're like these big alien-looking dudes. In fact, they kind of resemble to a degree what the creatures we saw on the walls at the beginning of the season.
Okay.
They look a little bit like that. So I don't know. I'm not sure if that's just for fun. Like some of the stuff I feel like they just put in kind of for fun. Like let's leave these thought trails out there in people's minds, but it's not actually going to connect in the end. I'm not sure.
Well, or yet. I mean, they could put all this stuff in there and someone else can pick up on a story later.
Yeah, right.
That's one of the big things Star Wars does.
Did you expect, by the way, going back a little bit, did you expect that when the troopers were getting killed, that the green gas was going to be released because we thought they were zombies, or were they not zombies?
I don't know. Like, I'm torn because, like, it seems like, are they just the last living ones, and the zombies are the ones that are in the coffins that they're bringing back? Are those all witches, or are they some of his people too? Or will they be brought back? Because it seems to work differently. Like when they did it to Maul, when he died, he just got smaller and died. But then the Merrick, he turns into dust. The zombies are a completely different thing. So I'm not in these. I don't see zombies just standing in line in formation while Thrawn walks through to be a badass, you know? So I don't see. The only thing it could be is if they were enhanced like Maul was.
Right. They could be. And maybe you're right. Maybe the only thing that confuses me a little is that line that Thrawn had, whatever it was last episode, I guess, when he said, "I need your magic again." As if they've done something for him before. And that just made total sense. They call them night troopers.
Yeah.
Like Night Sisters. So you're just thinking it has to be connected, you know, and the way that they're wrapped up in those scarves that are the same color as the Night Sister. It just makes more sense. But I just thought we would have seen something that showed us, oh yeah, confirmed. These are raised dead troopers.
Right. And is there some symbolism or whatever you want to say with Ezra wearing a red sweater?
I didn't think about that.
So, I mean, there's a backstory there we're not aware of.
It's him the whole time. It was Agatha all along. He's actually going to fucking kill them in the end.
Waiting for you all to get together and fucking slit their throats.
That's right.
There's the season finale.
Oh, now that would be, people would like jump off cliffs if that happened. Yeah, Baylan, I'm interested to see how they where they leave that. Because, I mean, they
By
wrote it
far
all.
my favorite character in the show.
Oh, he's been great.
Yeah.
He's so well acted, so mysterious. I mean, the fact that we are still at this point in the season and don't know what the fuck he's up to, really,
Right.
is good writing, I think, and a good character.
And I love that he almost is, maybe he's smarter than Thrawn, because Thrawn didn't see what he's up to.
Right.
You know, and like everything that Baylan says seems to have more than one meaning.
It does.
Like people are taking what he's saying on face value, but it's not what he's really saying.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. Like to go back, once we know everything, to go back and pick up the pieces of what he was saying is going to be fun for replay.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like there's no way they were planning on killing him off this season. And then they got done, filmed it all. It was all in post, and then he dies, the actor.
Right.
And I just wonder what that decision is like. Filoni's sitting there going, "Well, fuck. Do I give him some sort of proper send off here, or are we just going to kind of, somehow Baylan died at the beginning of season 2?"
Yeah. I don't know. That seems to be a very big plot line that I don't feel like they can drop. I think they're going to have to hire somebody. Have you been seeing some of the Twitter, like, film Twitter, what do you want to call it, where they're recasting the character for the second season?
I haven't seen it for him, no. Have you seen any?
I've seen Gerard Butler.
Oh, I saw that one. Yes, I saw that one.
I've seen, I really like the Liev, how do you say his last name? Schreiber?
Liev Schreiber.
Schreiber. Yeah. Yep. I've seen him, and he could pull that off. He's a pretty fucking intense actor at times.
Basically, anybody who was in 300 could pull it off.
Yeah. I did see someone put what's the actor's name? Breaking Bad, but I'm like, he's too old.
Oh, Jesus Christ, Cranston.
Yes, Bryan Cranston.
That would okay. He's gonna need to fucking bulk up.
That's the thing. Yeah, he doesn't have like that size.
He doesn't have that.
But he
stature.
definitely has the intensity. I think that he could pull that off. But
Yeah.
I also saw John Hamm, too young, but they could gray him. But then that character definitely would be around a lot longer. But
true.
To me, John Hamm is like one role away from being like the fucking John Hamm apparently everyone wants him to be.
What do you mean?
But like he's A-list, but he's not. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows him.
Yeah.
He's good in everything he is, but he's not like top tier. He's not like he doesn't carry a movie.
Everybody loves him.
Right. I mean, he always carries his scenes. He's a great fucking actor.
You're right, but he never gets like the huge monster role. Like he's never like the guy, it feels like. That's
it's
a good
like
point.
That one role from that breakaway, but like, see, I fucking told you. And not to take away from what he did in the fucking
Mad Men.
Yeah, which I've never seen.
I haven't either. I saw the pilot. That was it.
That might be what I've seen, if I even seen all of that. That's one of those I gotta go back and watch. But I've always, everything I've ever seen him in. I think fucking John Hamm should be fucking Batman in the new Batman movie if they do The Brave and the Bold, like an older version of Batman, because there's gonna be Robins, all this shit, So I think he'd be great in that.
Yeah, he's always good. I don't know. I'm real hesitant to have them recast it, but I don't want to lose the character. But I think Ray Stevenson's such a huge part of that character.
Right.
So like, how do you replace that? I don't know that you can. The only other thing I was going to mention is just with Hera absolved of her charges by what's his face, Senator Prick. Is there anything left for her this season? Is she just going to be there when Thrawn shows back up in like a oh shit way? Is that about it? Or do we see her in the finale?
I think so. To me, I think that's where it ends, is like they are all made aware that Thrawn has arrived, and like she, grabs her forces. Maybe that's how we see Zeb, and they kind of go off. Like you see the fleet like, okay, let's go. And it sort of ends there. So we pick up the second season.
Kind of an Empire Strikes Back-ish ending, like it's on a down note. Like Thrawn's in command.
Possibly, yeah, yeah. Or I didn't even see him, because what's he going to be in command of? Like, he got a few people he's got to make some phone calls to first. Let everyone know he's back.
True. Maybe he'll show up and there'll just be a shit ton of other Star Destroyers waiting for him. Like, fucking finally, let's go.
He'd almost have to show up like, what's the capital city right now? Like, where are they at? They're not on Coruscant, are they?
I think that was Coruscant.
Was it?
I don't think they've moved to Hosnian Prime yet.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. Okay, because that's where the Senate and everything ends up being when Mon Mothma's in charge, right?
Yes, I think that's later. Well, so and then there's a whole confusion there, because there's that Chandra-La place that's in the books.
That's where I think. Yeah.
So I don't know how
that's where she's from, right?
That's where she's from.
Yeah.
So that's in the book. So I mean, it's not necessarily canon, but That's where she's in the books, and that's where they kind of relocate to. And it would have been before this, actually, when that happened. So I'm not sure. But they certainly made it look like Coruscant when they went
But
there.
if he shows up on, the Chimera, everyone just sees it. That's a, drop in the, hello, everyone. So
I'd like to say Xiono gets killed, but we know that he's going to be around.
Oh, God. I was yelling at him to die last night.
It's a shame he wasn't on Hosnian Prime when it went down, isn't it?
I thought he was.
No, remember, they thought he was.
Oh,
and then later
right,
he shows up in a hollow and he's fine. Like, God damn it. Little did we know
what I
we'd
was
hate him
shouting
so
last
much.
night. I said, why can't he be there now? Blow that planet up.
Well, we will see. Next week is the finale. It's exciting. I'm looking forward to figuring out how they're going to wrap this up. I think you're right. I think they're going to go more the cliffhanger route. Like, we're going to leave a lot of things up in the air. Nothing's really totally resolved. But we got our people back together. So that crew is back together. Ahsoka, Ezra and Sabine are together. So that's one. I mean, and maybe that's what it is. Maybe somehow they do get home, reunite with Hera, Zeb, etc. You get that, but then they're all like, "But we're fucked because Thrawn's back, and we got to kick some shit in gear here."
Yep.
All right, got a couple entries in the Maul Bag here. Brian Auer. This is the Thrawn I know. Always a half dozen steps ahead of his enemy. Well, not Baylan, Brian. Not ahead of Baylan. I guess that's not his enemy, quote unquote. Have waited 32 years for this, and it does not disappoint. 32 years he's been waiting.
I'll agree with that.
Email number 2 from the Max Rebo Experience. Wow, what an episode. Seeing C-3PO act as an intermediary for Leia is an elegant way to get around Carrie's passing. It was funny that 3PO wasn't recognized, even without a red arm. That's right, he didn't have the red arm yet. When the hell did he get the red arm? Carson Teva mentioning the battle on Mandalore sets the timeline for us, and sadly means Grogu probably didn't see the Purgle with Ahsoka inside it. Remember that scene where he sees the Purgle when they're going? Yeah. I didn't recognize that drop ship design. Was it from Rebels?
The two ships with they look like giant speeders.
Yeah, they were kind of reminiscent of the Clone Wars stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't. I'm bad with ships. Like, people are like, "Oh, that's a whatever class. That didn't show up till this time." I'm bad at that stuff. I am too. I think I saw that once. The tactics used by Thrawn and the behavior of his troopers make me think they are not zombies. Well, and that's a good point. That's what we discussed. Maybe they weren't. Maybe the new ones are, and that's the backup, but not the ones that are currently under his command. Which is why he's so cautious about using resources. Perhaps he's real cautious about losing too many of them.
Yeah, because he even mentions depleted forces.
Right. Yeah, he's managing his resources.
Can't be sending the whole army out just when there's not very many left.
No. It's funny Ahsoka did the smoke bomb and disappear like Shin pulled on Sabine earlier. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
A little different way, though. She had Hu Yang do it for her.
Yeah, mine are bigger.
When Ezra said his ally was the Force, I really wish he said, "and a powerful ally it is." Yeah. Do you think Thrawn talking about time being on his side is a callback to Rogue One when Krennic said, "I've lost nothing but time"? I don't know if it was a tie to that. I just think it was the fact that, put it this way, when Thrawn said Ahsoka has lost what she needs most, or whatever that setup line is, the consultant sitting next to me goes, "Time." I was like, "Good job, dude." He's always talking about time. Back when we saw him in Rebels and shit, he was always talking about time. That's
true.
I wonder if the crabby dude with the slingshot is Force sensitive. Sure. That's all I have for this week. I'm anxious and dreading the next episode. Oh, anxiety and dread over this finale for Max Rebo. That's it for the Maul Bags. You guys get entries. Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jay, for fighting through the cold and battling to get this episode done.
Yeah, my batteries have died, so I was just looking at this. I'm like, oh, there are no voicemails, so I can say my last line, right? Which is, thank you for listening. And until next time, when I feel much better,
laugh it up, fuzzballs.
We have spoken.